Welcome to Bunny Trails, a whimsical adventure of idioms and other turns of phrase. I'm Dan Pugh.
And I'm Shauna Harrison. Each week, we take an idiom or other turn of phrase and try to tell the story from its entry into the English language to how it's used today. You hear cookies, and you might imagine chocolate chips, a warm oven, maybe a glass of milk on the side. You probably aren't picturing someone who could take a punch, figuratively or otherwise. But when I was little and I fell down riding my bike, then popped back up to keep going, my dad would say, "She's one tough cookie."
That's clever. I like it. You're right. I don't imagine when you say cookie, I don't imagine a tough person, but this is a good point. Yes, that is what that means.
According to Cambridge Dictionary, tough cookie means, quote, a person who is able to deal with difficult situations and not be easily defeated, frightened, or upset, end quote. If you were playing D&D as a tough cookie, you would have a higher level of constitution.
I see. Well, for our audience, thankfully, they're going to get that. Not really appealing to the masses there, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, it's a niche example, I guess. It's fairly straightforward as far as the definition goes, but one of the key words is less consistent. The word cookie started showing up in English to refer to a smallish baked item around 1700. Now, this definition is a little bit long, but it's important to clarify the meaning of the term in a few English-speaking parts of the world. Oxford English Dictionary tells us that a cookie is, quote, any of a various small cakes, buns, or sweet biscuits, specifically A, Scottish and Irish English, Northern, a plain bun, B, chiefly North American, a sweet biscuit, C, South African, a flat cake or bread roll baked on a griddle or in the hot embers of a fire, now obsolete. In North America, biscuit is used to refer to a small round cake similar to a scone, whereas cookie is the usual term for the flat, sweet, crisp, or chewy items known outside of North America as biscuits. Outside of North America, cookie is now also used to refer to sweet biscuits having a fairly soft, chewy texture and to crumbly biscuits containing chocolate chips. Examples: black and white cookie, butter cookie, chocolate chip cookie, fortune cookie, Girl Scout cookie, sandwich cookie, spritz cookie, sugar cookie, etc. End quote.
Wow.
You know how sometimes you just use a thing to define itself? This one's real tough for any dictionary I found to explain
to define what a cookie is. Yeah.
Like just to define what it is in general.
Right. Well, I think the small cake, and I think the as they put it here, flat, sweet, crisp or chewy items.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
So also, by the way, the OED has a separate entry for chocolate chip cookie, which I absolutely love.
Nice.
It's its own thing.
Nice. Chocolate chip gets its own thing. Yeah, I feel like it deserves it. Mm-hmm. I did notice they didn't mention oatmeal raisin cookie, which good for them. Good for them.
Because that's probably a scone, I think.
I don't know. I can't get drug into this conversation. I don't know enough about it.
It's like a muffin. I don't know. It's something else. What's Cooking America shares some information on early cookies in the article History of Cookies. Here are a few snippets, including the belief that the first cookies date back to the 600s.
600s?
Yeah, so
wow.
Not the word. But,
not the word cookie. So the word cookie is more
themselves.
1700, but the idea of what we would in North America call cookies.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Quote, in America, a cookie is described as a thin, sweet, usually small cake. By definition, a cookie can be any of a variety of handheld, flour-based sweet cakes, either crisp or soft. Each country has its own word for cookie. According to culinary historians, the first historic record of cookies was their use as test cakes. A small amount of cake batter was baked to test the oven temperature. The earliest cookie-style cakes are thought to date back to the 7th century, Persia AD, now Iran, one of the first countries to cultivate sugar. Luxurious cakes and pastries in large and small versions were well known in the Persian Empire. End quote.
That's kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a food history show, but I'm really actually fascinated by I mean, it makes total sense with the idea that they would be like little test cakes, right? You
Yeah.
know, if you're going to put it together, you want to do a small batch to make sure that, before thermometers and thermostats were around, making sure that, all right, this is the right temperature, this is going to work. And yeah,
Exactly. And,
okay.
for like if you're making pancakes in a pan, you can like put a single drop of the batter in the
Right.
pan to see if it's ready to cook it properly, and it'll cook essentially the same. So it's like I think, kind of that's a similar concept there. So
Okay. Well, that's really neat. All right, so let's get us back to the word cookie.
Oxford English Dictionary provides one entry for the term cookie in slang. Quote, originally US, a person of a specified kind, usually with preceding adjective expressing a positive quality, especially in smart cookie, tough cookie, end quote. So the OED identifies the term cookie as being the slang term with the adjectives being different add-ons, but we're going to focus on tough cookies, and they're the predominant one that was used over time. Cookie has also been used as slang for other things in the past century, including a certain type of aerial bomb since the 1940s, and in the phrase to toss, shoot, or blow one's cookies to refer to the unfortunate situation when a person vomits.
Blow one's cookies is awful.
So
That's
gross.
so awful.
So gross. More recently, cookies became the little packets of data that get passed around between your devices and internet servers. But I prefer we stick to the tasty, positive cookies. So let's jump ahead to the last century, that is the 1900s. In the Cheyenne State Leader out of Wyoming, U.S., we find the phrase used in the issue dated 11 April 1913. Quote, he was told that he never would have gotten close enough to lay a hand upon the rough, tough cookie if the said rough, tough cookie had had his gun with him, end quote. I tried to find the full story on this one because it sounds like a fun one to read, but I didn't have good luck with that, unfortunately. Harry S. Truman used the term in a letter dated 8 November 1917, which started, Dear Bess. Here's the excerpt. Quote, he's a hard-boiled cookie, end quote. Gotta love Truman. He never just said things the way that most people were saying it. It's like a one-up. He's not just tough, he's hard-boiled. It's got like mad film noir vibes, which honestly, the term cookie being used to describe a person feels like it belongs in the noir genre to me.
Yeah, interesting. I assume this is to his wife, or maybe I don't know if they were married at this point, but Bess Truman was his wife during the presidency. So I assume that that's who he's writing to here.
Yes. The double crisis. This man discovers that the West had put its fine, clean brand on his neglected soul by Raymond Richards is a short story published in the 1927 edition of Munsey's Magazine. Needed a short title because it was a short story.
Yeah, short story. So they were like, yeah, the title might be as long as the story.
Here's an excerpt. Quote, there was that spring, Harkins said reflectively, when Seth was made foreman of the X-Bar, or, let me see, was it the O-Bar? Oh? The X-Bar, James Sill replied quickly. Go on. That would be Old Man Stay's outfit. He was a tough cookie, was Old Man Stay's, end quote. So in this part of the story, the man was recalling a friend who had covered for the loss of their big boss's horse. Seth was the friend, and Old Man Stays was the big boss. Seth did indeed cover for the other man, but he lost his new exciting job as the foreman in the process. And so, but they were reflecting on how much of a tough cookie Old Man Stays was. There.
Yeah, fair enough. I definitely know a lot of people that I would describe as tough cookies, and a lot of them are older folks, who have, I I don't know that I usually use it to describe younger folks as much in my view, because I always see it as like kind of they're a tough cookie. They're experienced, they've been around, they're resilient,
Yeah.
they've had lifetimes of things thrown at them, and they seem to overcome it. They seem to be survivors. That's kind of where I've always put it. I don't know that I've used it a lot for young people, but it does make sense. I mean, you get, you think about, there's a comic strip where two people are talking, and the kid's like, "Daddy, Daddy," and he's running towards him, and this big meteorite comes out of the sky and smashes into the kid and just like creates this big crater, right? And the other person that was talking looks over at the dad and is like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "No, no, wait, wait." And then the kid comes crawling out from under the meteorite. And since everybody's acting like it's completely normal, the kid's like, "Daddy, did you see that?" And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, because kids are like super resilient, and they really feed off of what adults do. So like if adults freak
Right.
out that something happened, then the kid freaks out too. But if you just act like everything's fine, then the kid just brushes himself off. They don't know any better.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
kids can definitely be a tough cookie as well. They just take their cues from the emotional reactions of the people around them
Right.
sometimes, because they've never been there before, so they don't know how to react.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I saw that, like a real life example of that when my kids were little, and one of them was playing baseball, and there was a younger sibling that they'd go onto the field during the seventh inning stretch, whatever, and because they'd take a little break, and the littler kids would run around the bases, for fun a couple of times. And this one, he tripped and fell in the dirt, and he's covered in the red, baseball diamond dirt. And he
The
just
red shale, yeah.
and he looks up and finds mom, and she was like, giving him a thumbs up or whatever. And so he had
He
that
just got up
look
and
on
kept
his face
going.
like he was about to just go, break into tears. And instead he just gets up and like brushes off, maybe a tenth of the dirt, and then keeps just running the rest of
Yep,
the way. It was
exactly.
so cute.
Just trying to take their cues, and if mom had been crying and being like, "Oh my gosh, are you
Yeah,
okay?"
or she
then
had
he
the
would have.
startled look,
Yeah,
waiting.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
hilarious.
So good. Next is an excerpt from Vogue magazine from 1936. We only have a partial segment, so we're starting mid-sentence. Quote, "Man and a tough cookie, even if did speak in blank verse. A good guy with hair on his chest. You girls are always pretending to prefer those softies who part their hair in the middle, quote Proust, and tango without looking harassed. But that's because there are only 11 men on one football team, and they go fast. The whole thing is ridiculous." End quote.
Wow, that was a wild ride. That I'm not sure I know which direction we are going in any of these things. Wow.
Yeah. So perhaps some magazines haven't changed much over time. Though I'm not sure. I never really read Vogue, but this sounds like something that could be in a modern magazine, honestly.
Yeah. Well, interesting.
In the congressional record for the House in the United States, dated May 16th, 1945, we find a quote from the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Short. Here is part of what he had to say. Quote, "Do not think that General Eisenhower ever gave any sanction to the coddling of these prisoners. My colleagues who were with me will tell you that when we were at Rheims, we spent the whole afternoon with General Eisenhower and with Major General Lucien Clay, who is going to be the military governor over there. He's a pretty hard-boiled, tough cookie. He is the right guy for the job." End quote. I thought it was interesting to see hard-boiled brought back for this one, along with tough. He did also mention Truman in one section of his comments, which take up 4 pages.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's almost like it was a nod to that.
Yeah.
Under the Congress of the United States Joint Committee on Atomic Energy, Washington, D.C., we can view the official documentation for the investigation into the United States Atomic Energy Project, dated Monday, June 13th, 1949. And here's a response from Dr. Oppenheimer. Quote, "That is one of the factors. I think that it can be put awfully simply. When the war was over, most scientists hope, as did most Americans, that we would not have a Cold War next, but that we would have peace. And that year, during which the commission was being established and the law written, was also the year in which it was becoming clear that we were not going to have peace and that we were going to have a lot of talented young American scientists working on atomic energy problems for destructive purposes. I do not believe that you could have expected a very flourishing performance between the summer of 1949 and the fall of 1947, and it was not the intention of the General Advisory Committee, nor mine, to reflect on the administration of the project then, but only to indicate that what the Commission inherited was a tough cookie." End quote. So that one's a pretty intense topic, but a good usage of the phrase being applied to an idea or an object as opposed to a person, which doesn't come up quite as much. The phrase appears in a 1968 ad in Life magazine for the Armstrong Rubber Company. Quote, "Armstrong has a new cool tire, a wide track made with fiberglass. It may look fat, but it's as tough as nails and can give you over 40,000 miles of safe driving. Ever since they were introduced a few years ago, wide track tires have been the hottest things going. Fatso, a tough cookie, available only at your Armstrong dealer. He's in the Yellow Pages." End quote.
Oh my.
The Yellow Pages.
The Yellow Pages, yeah. Yeah. So for those of you listening who are of a certain age, the Yellow Pages were like Google, but smashed into an actual book. So you could find everybody's phone numbers and addresses.
It was like really tiny print, but the book was still like 3 or 4 inches thick or something. And
Yeah. The Yellow Pages were the section for the businesses. The White Pages were the section for people's personal information because we just all doxed each other back then.
yeah, it was all printed, alphabetical order. Love it. So I found this ad pretty entertaining. It was like a look back at a different time, but not that far back. And we're going to read a little bit more about these fancy new tires, how they hug corners like a bear, and more in our behind the scenes, which airs every Friday on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/bunnytrailspod. We have several modern uses to cover, and we're going to get to those right after we say thank you to our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by our amazing patrons on Patreon. And the cool thing about Patreon is it is 100% free to join the Bunny Trails community. We have new things every weekday on the feeds. On Mondays, we have a conversation about what movies, shows, books, podcasts, and whatever else everyone is enjoying. Tuesdays see early access to the week's podcast. Wednesdays have all the links, books, songs, and other content mentioned in the week's episode. Thursday has patrons-only polls, and Fridays are our lightly edited, behind-the-scenes video featuring all the cut content, goofs, and bonus facts you could imagine.
We've got some other pretty cool stuff too, like original digital artwork once a month made by me, and direct access to talk with us. No algorithms getting in the way of what we see or don't see. Plus, you can get awesome name recognition like Pat Rowe does every episode. And our top spot is currently occupied by the amazing Mary Halsig Lopez. You can join the Bunny Trails community for free at Bunny Trails Pod on Patreon.
That's patreon.com/bunnytrailspod.
Tough Cookie appears in the opening line of one of the most recognizable rock songs by one of the greatest female vocalists of the late 1900s, Hit Me With Your Best Shot by Pat Benatar. It was released in 1980. Here are some of the lyrics. Quote, "Well, you're the real tough cookie with a long history of breaking little hearts like the one in me. That's okay. Let's see how you do it. Put up your dukes. Let's get down to it. Hit me with your best shot." End quote. The book Tough Cookie by David Wisniewski was published in 1999. To get a really good idea of this story, let's take a look at the review from the School Library Journal. Quote, "Film noir informs Wisniewski's narrative and artwork in this hard-boiled crime story, which details life in the jar, where cookies prosper or perish based on freshness and quality. The Bogart-like narrator, whose chocolate chip-pocked face is half hidden by his yellow trench coat and fedora, has been around long enough to lose his soft spots. They call me a tough cookie," he begins. "I guess I am. Came from a regular batch, lots of dough. Now he's at the bottom of the jar with a bunch of crumbs. To make matters worse, a blonde bombshell named Pecan Sandy has some bad news about his ex-partner, Chips. Seems Chips has tussled with fingers, a giant human hand that occasionally reaches into the jar. The tough cookie knows he must someday fight Fingers himself. Luckily, Pecan Sandy mobilizes hundreds of unappreciated crumbs for the final battle. Wisniewski, who satirized cloak and dagger conspiracies in The Secret Knowledge of Grown-Ups, effectively lampoons the detective genre. He achieves a different effect with his signature cut paper illustrations by shading them with colored pencil, and fittingly connotes the gritty subterranean cookie world. The perfectly crisp edges of his artwork in books like Workshop here take on gradations, with folds as rumpled looking as the narrator's trench coat, offsetting the character's purportedly hard edges. A parting shot of a Robert Mitchum-esque silhouette of the hero and his girl will satisfy any sweet tooth, ages 6 and up. End quote.
So it took me half of that time frame to realize that this is probably actually an anthropomorphic cookie that was doing all this. But like I was so lost because I felt like I went in so blind and had no idea. And then I'm just like, wait, chocolate chip pocked face is half hidden by his yellow trench coat and fedora. And I'm like, hang on, now I have images. Now I have a thing going on in my head.
It's very 99 too. If you look at the cover, it's glorious. Tough Cookie is a song by Olivia King, released in 2022. Here are some of the lyrics. Quote, "Trying to impress me, I'm a tough cookie. Messing with a pro, I'm far from a rookie. Don't take it personal, but babe, you doing the most. You messin' with a tough cookie." End quote. Tough Cookie is a paper collage artwork by Joanne Donnelly of the United States, created in 2022. Here's a little about the piece from the artist. Quote, "Tough Cookie is a collage of hand-painted and found paper from the series Wondrous Woman, celebrating the strength, courage, and determination of women throughout history who stood up for themselves despite discrimination, abuse, and sexism. This image isn't of any particular woman per se, but a composite of many women I have known." End quote. This piece is really neat. I often feel like collage works are done almost like mosaics, where that are like a lot of tiny pieces of paper of a color or something combined in an area, whereas this is predominantly larger pieces that are layered in areas and painted to create the portrait, and it's really neat. Tough Cookie, A Christmas Story is a 2023 book written and illustrated by Edward Hemingway. Here's a synopsis from the publisher. Quote, "When a cookie discovers he does not taste delicious, he has to find a new identity in this clever picture book twist on a holiday classic. Once upon a time, while Fox was visiting the land of holiday treats, a little cookie, still warm from the bakery oven, burst out the front door looking sweet and ready to be devoured. But, as it turns out, Cookie is not as fast as he thinks, and when Fox finally catches him, they're both in for a big surprise. Sugar Cookie does not taste delicious, and he's certainly not fit to be eaten. What's an unsavory cookie to do? Is there another option for this not-so-sweet treat? This inventive story celebrates the joy of being accepted for who we are." End quote.
Which is apparently not edible. Wow,
I
look,
got-
I'm not going to be brutally eaten and murdered by that fox.
I-
Darn.
Yeah, I couldn't decide how I felt about that part, but I haven't read the whole book, so,
Right.
you know.
I mean, the cookie on the thing is a gingerbread man, right? So, and that must be when they're talking about the cookie is not as fast as he thinks he is, you know?
Yeah.
Like the traditional gingerbread man can't catch me in the gingerbread man because he's so fast,
So,
right?
like, maybe he's a sugar cookie or supposed to be a
He's
sugar
definitely a
cookie
gingerbread
that's,
man.
like,
I'm looking at
decorated
him.
to look like a gingerbread man. I don't know.
Oh.
I
Maybe he got
will
cooked too
say-
long. I definitely have seen that at
Oh,
Christmas when you're making
yes.
cookies and you leave them, you forget about it because you're doing something else, and it's like,
And
oh
especially
crap.
with sugar cookies, there's like a 30-second window or something where you can
Yeah, it's like trying to find an avocado that's ripe. You know,
And,
it's like you got 30 minutes where it's ripe at 2:37 in the morning, and that's when you get to eat it. Otherwise, it's gone.
right.
Sugar cookies are like that too.
Yeah,
Take
like
them
you
out
take
at the right
them out
time
just
or
right.
done.
They're soft, but they're cooked all the way through, and they're just like perfect. And then 30 seconds longer, and they're hard as rock when they cool. You're just
Right. That's what God made milk for.
or coffee.
Whatever, I guess.
Tough Cookie is a song by Zico featuring Don Mills. Zico is well known by some from his part in the group Block B. His first solo rap track, the song Tough Cookie, was released in 2025. Here is the chorus. Quote, I'm not your friend, and I'm not your family either. I'm not your peer. Chew me wrong, and all your teeth might fall out. 'Cause I'm a tough cookie, tough cookie, tough cookie. End quote. The
Yeah.
chorus has a good beat, and he brings it back to the end to end the song with like a nice repetition. I could see this one working well in a club.
Nice.
Tough Cookie Travel is a website dedicated to helping women travel safely. Here's their mission as shared from the creator. Quote, I love to travel like many other women, but traveling solo as a woman can be difficult and dangerous, and the options for resources to help us better equip ourselves are severely lacking. Do a quick search for personal safety or self-defense books on Amazon and notice how all of the top results are written by men, even the ones geared toward women. There's something wrong with this picture, so I created Tough Cookie to do something about it. I've created the ultimate travel safety website, complete with my own tried and true safety tips, recommended tools, and a new approach to self-defense training. The real ladies version, designed by a woman who has actually been through it too and knows what you're going through. I built this for my fellow women like you who deserve travel safety and self-defense tips, tools, and training as complete, comprehensive, and authentic as you are. Here at Tough Cookie, we're doing personal safety differently. End quote. So I like this. Great thing to share with others. One Tough Cookie, Custom Cookies by Sarah, creates custom sugar cookies. Here's a little bit of Sarah's story and why she chose the name. Quote, my cookie decorating journey began as a child, decorating Christmas cookies with my mom every year. Along came Pinterest and helped me to develop my own decorating style and desire to hoard cookie cutters and constantly try new techniques. Our youngest daughter, Vivian, was born in 2014 with a long list of medical complexities and continues to need around-the-clock care. I had to quit my job to be her full-time nurse/caregiver. She has had over 60 surgeries in her little life, mostly on her brain, abdomen, and heart. The name One Tough Cookie was inspired by her and her will to persevere through anything thrown her way. She is seriously the most amazing and inspiring girl ever. End quote. So also, Sarah's cookie designs are pretty impressive. They're like really cute. If we're talking dessert, I'll take my tough cookie with a cup of coffee. The sweetness will still be there. It's sort of a cute phrase, isn't it? And I think that's what I love most about it. It's praise without pretension. A tough cookie doesn't have to prove it's strong. It just keeps holding together even when things get difficult. And that resilience, the internal fight to keep getting back up, isn't weakness. It's very human and very real. It's the kind of strength that I admire, the quiet, steady kind. That's the kind of strength you find in a tough cookie. That's about all we have for today. If you have any thoughts on the show or pop culture references we should have included, reach out to us on Patreon, patreon.com/bunnytrailspod, or comment on our website, bunnytrailspod.com.
It is poll time. Recently, we asked our patrons, would you rather be the best player on a team that loses all the time or the worst player on a team that wins all the time? This was actually a close call, with best player on a losing team winning out 60% to 40%.
JGP said, quote, I don't do sports at all, but I think I'd feel guilty if I were the worst performing one all the time. I think it'd be much more fun to be the best, since then I wouldn't be letting my teammates down. End quote. That's a valid point from JGP. I've been in both positions, and I enjoyed both for different reasons. What I found, though, is that I like playing on a team, but one that's more of a collaboration than a continual joined effort. So I like golf and relay races, things like that. Sports where you do your own part and it contributes to the team winning. So I'm not sure if that fits into the question or not.
Well, Mary said, quote, it was hard choice because it's fun to win, and it's also fun to be the one everyone looks up to. I've been the best one on a losing team, and that sucks. So I'm going to go with the worst on a winning team and assume I'll spend most of my time on the bench and hurt no one. End quote. That makes sense too. I personally have never been the best player of anything at anything, which suits me fine because it seems that being the best comes with all the pressure. And since I'm not an overly competitive type, I think I'd be fine with either situation. But if I was going to pick one, I think I'd pick being the worst player on a winning team because someone will be super competitive about it. And even if I'm the best player, I might get blamed for that losing. So if I go the other way, I'm the worst player on a winning team, then, maybe they still complain about me, like I'm not holding up my end of the bargain or something, but we're still winning. So the people that are super competitive are less likely to be grumpy about it. The truth, though, I'd rather be a middle of the road player doing just my part, regardless of our wins and losses, because I like being able to. I like sports and things where people have a role and you play that role, and it takes everybody playing that role to make it happen. Like, you've got this job,
Yeah.
you do your job. If you can do your job and everybody else around you can do their job, then we're going to have a good chance of success. And I like those
See,
styles of things.
yes, me too. I love those. That's what I say, like the collaboration, or
Right.
like like a drama performance. Everybody's got their role
Yeah.
they perform, and everybody does well, and it creates like a really cool thing together.
Well, as a reminder, our silly polls mean absolutely nothing and are not scientifically valid. Patrons of all levels, including our free tiers, can take part. Head over to patreon.com/bunnytrailspod to take this week's poll. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you again next week. Until then, remember, words belong to the users.